and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Media censorship and the crumbling of trust that the American people have with their media, it's becoming more apparent. Now, we talked about this when Katie Halper was kicked off and censored by The Hill. And so this should concern all of you. And Lauren, we actually talked about this.
Yeah.
Before we play this video, again, you saw the video where Katie Halper was talking about her coverage about Israel and its apartheid government and its policies towards the Palestinian people. So would you care just telling people your thoughts on that initial video when you saw it?
So initially, I was a little bit surprised that she was being censored by it at all, because she was just bringing straight facts. She was showing quotes from the actual people who are in charge. She brought out dictionary definitions. She just straight up spoke the facts. It was just the truth. She was like, this is all of the actual definitions that are happening about what apartheid is, about what this is, and this is how it applies to this situation in Israel. And the fact that she was told that she wasn't allowed to do that blew my mind, because I thought that the whole point of being an investigative journalist was that you present the truths that you uncover, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is just a definition. Here's what's happening. The fact that she's not allowed to do that, and the fact that we're not allowed to mention that Israel is an apartheid state because we're supposed to buy into the fact that Israel is just the good guys. And we're not allowed to talk about the other side of the narrative. We're not allowed to talk about the fact that Israel has been at fault for killing far more civilians than Palestine has been. We're not allowed to talk about the fact that as they encroach on previously Palestinian territories, they are destroying lives and making it very difficult for people to, people's families can't come visit them. They're not allowed to, the Palestinians are under various curfews, and there's so many things that she brought up in her monologue that are just matters of public record, and she got fired for it. Like, it's kind of terrifying that is the situation that we find ourselves in.
So I want to play this video where Brianna Joy Gray talks about this. She brought this up yesterday, and she posted this on social media. So here, let's check it out for our viewers and subscribers. So again, this is her statement. Watch my statement about Katie Halper being censored today on The Hill. Listen to discuss it tonight at 6:30. Again, here's a YouTube link. So let's watch it. And if you're not following Brianna Joy Gray, please do so. She's done phenomenal work. Oops, there we go. Oh, wait, that was not the link right there. Apologies. That was the tweet. Let me go ahead and pull up the video. Apologies for that, folks. That was the tweet. Let me get this set up here for the video where she's interviewing Katie Halper. Share screen. All right. So again, I found this to be very fascinating. So let's get this pulled up and set. Oops, there we go. All right.
You have been the center of this firestorm for about a week now. And I wonder, where you're at kind of mentally and emotionally right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's an interesting time. Can you guys hear me? Is my mic selected? You can hear me okay? Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. You can hear me. Okay, great. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry, but you were like trying to get a feedback from the audience. Yeah. I can hear you just fine.
All right, awesome. So I'm okay. I've been getting a lot of support, which is really nice. I do also really appreciate that you defended me today on the show. I think that their claim that there is a stylistic issue is interesting because I feel like they're
bullshit.
Yeah, they're playing whack-a-mole basically.
Yeah.
The opposite of whack-a-mole. Instead of smacking down reasons for why they fired me, they're like pulling up reasons for why they fired me. So whatever the metaphor for that would be, reverse whack-a-mole. Again, I don't know what the stylistic reason would be, the substantive reason would be. I think that one thing that may happen, and I kind of want to get ahead of this, because I think it would be great if you do radars on Israel and you're critical of Israel. What they're going to probably do is they may not let you, but I think they're probably have the PR wherewithal to now know that they've been called out on their policy. So if they let you, I just want people to know that's not because there's a stylistic issue with me. It was still because of what I was talking about, but now it's going to be too expensive for them. Like the cost benefit analysis is such that they can't muzzle someone else on this issue, because that would just be an admission that they were in fact doing what I was doing. Because a lot of people now are talking about like, oh, they're letting Bree do it, but not Katie.
So here's something. So I want to pull up this video now. I thought I had it muted. So let's talk about where Brianna Joy Gray is talking about this on the Hill. So I want to pull this up for our viewers and subscribers. And then after this video, Lauren, I do want to get your commentary on this, because again, it is censorship to the highest level, and it's insulting to everyone that's witnessing
Brianna
this.
would like to say some words. Go ahead.
Thank you, Robbie.
She would like to say some words.
No, journalist Katie Halper was a guest host on Rising Monday before last, and as part of that role, she recorded a radar, a monologue. The radar addressed Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's statement that progressives cannot ignore the apartheid conditions many Palestinians live under and be progressive except for Palestine. Katie's radar critiqued the backlash to Tlaib, incited a former Secretary of State, chair of Israel's left political party, Israel's former education minister, former Israeli environment minister, and others who corroborated this view that Israel is an apartheid state. The decision was subsequently made by The Hill editor-in-chief Bob Cusack not to air her radar. Katie was then told that not only would she not be asked back to host, but that she would no longer be invited to do the regular guest spots she has been participating in for about 3 years now. I strongly disagree with how Katie was treated by The Hill. It seems obvious to me from her long tenure on the show that neither the quality of her analysis nor her presentation style has ever been seriously in question up until this point. You can find her radar, which she re-recorded with Breakthrough News, an independent media channel, on their YouTube page, and judge for yourself. I, for one, find it difficult to believe that despite The Hill's representations, this is merely an editorial decision as opposed to an ideological one. As a former senior politics editor at The Intercept myself, I found the quality and accuracy of Katie's radar to be unimpeachable. And I believe losing Katie's commentary is a real loss for The Hill. Over the past week, I have struggled with whether to continue co-hosting this show. Robbie and I talk about censorship and cancel culture frequently, and it feels hypocritical to talk about those subjects without applying the same scrutiny to our own show. However, I also believe strongly in this show's format. I deeply value cross-ideological discourse, and I think The Hill is one of the few corporate media spaces in which left voices are tolerated at all. The Hill has told me that.
Look at how they went after Kim Iverson, and also look at what they treated Katie Halper. I think, Brianna, you were doing really good on your own before you got on the Rising. Let's face it, corporate media in any shape or form will do anything it can to censor, silence, and suppress. And look, not to bring up this guy, because I know the audience is going to get upset, but look, when Cenk Uygur was hosting on NBC, eventually they told him to get the hell out. You're not allowed to have a separate opinion. You're not allowed to be unique. You're not allowed to do anything to upset the apple cart connection between Washington, D.C., the two parties, and, of course, corporate media. It's all a game, and all these corporate media outlets need to have access to the politicians. Simple as that.
The decision to end its relationship with Katie is an editorial decision about style and not ideology or substance, and that it would be happy for me to cover Israel, Palestine, and any other newsworthy topic as I see fit. So I've decided to put that claim to the test. I will be staying with The Hill as long as I do not experience what I believe to be ideological censorship. I will continue to cover topics as I see fit, including the ongoing apartheid conditions in Israel. If at any point I feel like I am being censored, I will end my relationship with The Hill. I will have more to say about this decision on my own show, Bad Faith Podcast, which you can find on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcast. And I'll be also hosting an opportunity for folks to call in and comment on my call-in show, The Debrief, which you can find with the call-in app later tonight. I appreciate the Hill giving me this opportunity to voice my view on this matter.
Look, I feel similarly to you. I didn't like how this was handled at all. I've not liked how some previous things have been handled. It was really hard parting ways with Kim Iverson, who I remain very strong friends with. Look, the audience knows we've had growing pains on this show following the departure of the longtime hosts, where we've had different people trying to figure out how we all get along and fit in with our various perspectives together.
I'm going to pause it here because obviously, I mean, at the end of the day, look, my thoughts is that if they're going to treat one of your colleagues like that, they're going to treat all of you like that. While I'm getting ready to set up the next video, Lauren, add in your thoughts to this.
I mean, the fact that they're trying to say that she was fired for stylistic differences is kind of wild to me. It reminds me of every single time that like a director has left a film because of creative differences. It's like that was not the reason. Everyone knows that creative differences, or in this case, stylistic differences, is code. And it's code for different things, of course. But in this case, it was you said something we didn't like, which actually is usually what the code is, I think. It's like, you're not saying the thing we want you to say, so you're fired. And we're going to just say it was creative differences because you're not doing this and you're not in lockstep with us right now. I was watching a documentary, or like sort of like a docuseries thing, earlier, and it was talking about how Edward Norton left the MCU because again they cited creative differences were the main reason, but Kevin Feige was like he was a nightmare. Essentially, I think his actual statement was something like, we wanted to find someone who was more creatively inclined to work with us, kind of thing, and diplomatic. He was a nightmare, and it's just like every single time. And now years and years later, everyone is a lot more chill about it. But it's just every single time that someone leaves a project because of creative differences, that it was because a higher up didn't like the thing that they were saying or doing, and that they felt, or if they're the one who made the decision to leave, it was because they felt stifled and that they were not being listened to, or treated like an actual colleague. And if they were the one who was asked to leave, it was because they weren't falling into step. So creative differences, stylistic differences, that's a huge red flag for me in whatever situation it tends to crop up. I will say that it does feel a little bit weird to keep saying that she was canceled. I don't think she was fired. She was censored. Cancel culture to me is more, what does the masses do? Like, it's not about like what your higher up does to you. It's about like the actual response from the majority of viewers and people who watch you. And it seems like, at least for Katie, people are on her side for the most part. So they keep talking about her being canceled, which I don't think is what happened. I think that is so that's like, for me, I'm just like, you don't need to keep using that button when it's not appropriate, because it just makes it worse, because it makes it easier for other people who have been canceled to like try to prove that they haven't been. So right. I mean, I wish that they would stop trying to say that that Katie Halper or like Kim Iverson or someone or like Brianna Joy Gray is worried about being canceled. It's like, you're not gonna be canceled. The majority of people are still on your side. It's just the people who are above you pulling the strings who are firing you. So I think that term, the cancel culture term, we need to roll back how much we use that, because it's losing its power and it's losing what it actually is. Because I think it can be very good and useful and helpful, but if
the person who's abusing their power and making people's lives a nightmare and causing psychological and physical harm to people, then cancel. Rip that SOB, rip that jag off a new one. Obviously, due process needs to take place. But I mean, if there's a person who is in a position of power that is abusing their said power on people that are underneath them, a firm boot to the goddamn face. Yeah. But what happened to Katie was that she was covering a story that the people at the Hill, the executives at the Hill, the producers at the Hill didn't like, and they they censored her for it.
And they allowed her to do it at first, though, is the thing.
Yeah.
So, like, they let her film it. They let her submit it. They let her do everything. And then they got cold feet, or someone said something that, like, oh, someone might not like this, and then pulled it. And it fully backfired on them, which is good.
And the thing is, I hope that not only libertarian and conservative viewers see that, but also hopefully eventually even liberals and progressives also see this too. The censorship is all too real, and those that are cheerleading for it, all what you're doing is causing said institution to fall apart. I also want to bring this up too for our viewers and subscribers. The trust in media, corporate media, is deteriorating, and because there's this need to have access to politicians, there's this need to have access to people who will eventually be making a bigger name for themselves. It's all part of the sick plan that we see in Washington, D.C. I want to pull up this story. It's a little separate, but it should shine a light on just how inept our media system is. Well, let me take that. Not inept. They know what they're doing, especially when they have big stories. They're always silent about it. They're always going to keep their mouths shut because at the end of the day, they want to have more views and access to people in positions of power, people who make names for themselves. Now, of course, this is from MSDNC. Let's hear this segment out, because at the end of the day, and again, shout out to Case Study QB, Mehdi Hassan highlights when the press reveals damaging information on politicians after their election. So only then does the press do its job after elections for politicians.
I want to show you an old Newsweek cover from almost 40 years ago. Exclusive, the untold story of campaign 1984. In there, you could read the magazine's fly-on-the-wall reporting from the Reagan versus Mondale presidential race, including the scoop that President Reagan's advisors were planning a tax hike after the election that they hadn't even told Reagan about. A looming tax hike does seem like something voters might want to have known about, so definitely worth the $2.50 newsstand price for the magazine. But here's the thing. That issue of Newsweek didn't come out until after the election. Part of the deal for the Newsweek reporters to get their access was that they would keep what they learned under wraps until after the election. A lot of journalists at the time were, perhaps unsurprisingly, mad at Newsweek, saying it was an ethical breach to withhold such important information. But the tempest passed. Fast forward to today, where we have been getting books from DC's top political reporters that reveal startling new details about the Trump White House and about alleged crimes, about clearly unpresidential behavior, and more. In 2020, it was Bob Woodward's book revealing Trump knew how serious COVID was early on in the pandemic while he downplayed it to the American public. Woodward had the president on tape from early February, but chose not to disclose it until his book Rage came out in September. It's gotten even worse since the 2020 election. One book, one bombshell revelation after another about the former president and his various lies, scandals, and abuses of power. Maggie Haberman, the famed New York Times Trump whisperer, she's sometimes called, for the past 7 years, is finally out with her new Trump book. It's called Confidence Man. And it's out this week. And it too reveals some info that might have been useful to know a long time ago, like how Donald Trump may have stolen government documents. He may have stolen government documents when he left office in January 2021. This is from the epilogue of Confidence Man. He demurred when I asked if he had taken any documents of note upon departing the White House. Nothing of great urgency, no, he said, before mentioning the letters that Kim Jong-un had sent him, which he had showed off to so many Oval Office visitors that advisors were concerned he was being careless with sensitive material. You were able to take those with you, I asked. He kept talking, seeming to have registered my surprise, and said, no, I think that's in the archives, but most of it is in the archives. But the Kim Jong-un letters, we have incredible things.
The man is incapable of being coherent.
That conversation of hers with Trump almost a year before.
Agreed. Now, look, here's the thing. A lot of these journalists and a lot of these, people that are trying to leak out information to these media outlets, because remember, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS were all chomping at the bit to get leaked information from the White House, keep it quiet until something else big was happening. And they wanted to keep they kept on sitting on stories and sitting on stories and not releasing it or sharing or talking about it to the public until after it was said and done, or there was a green light to talk about it. It's all about access. It's all about access to politicians. It's all about access to people in positions of power. And it's just to wait for another book to come out so then said author can speak to someone on NBC or Fox or CNN or ABC or CBS. It's all a game, a sick game. That's what they're doing. So if you're not angry, you should be. And to Brianna Joy Gray, look, it's only a matter of time before they fire you at the Hill. Look what they did to Katie. Look what they did to Kim. Anytime you associate with corporate media, there's a game plan, and that is it is to have access to politicians, not upset corporate donors, and not upset lobby groups that, maybe benefit or own both parties here in Washington, D.C. I mean, let's be very clear here. We have a sick system, and, it's all about talking about what's happening next down the road. Again, when we've had Farron on our show, she talked to us about the political landscape in Washington, D.C. It's all about making a name for yourself. Lauren, I want to give you the final word for this segment.
I mean, honestly, acting like any of these bombshells about Trump will change anything or would have changed anything is a little bit ridiculous. The things that were coming out about him for before the election didn't change anything. He still won. People knew we knew going in that he was abominable, and they still voted for him because he wasn't Hillary. So, and now all of these people coming out with like these books, like, yeah, I knew that this thing. Oh yeah, I knew that this thing. Oh yeah, I knew that this thing. Some of it doesn't necessarily feel real. Like some of it is like, did you though? Like, or are you just capitalizing on this because you know that A, people will believe you, and B, everyone else is doing it, so might as well jump on this bandwagon of exposés. But honestly, like, you could tell me anything about Trump at this point and I'd believe it, but I wouldn't believe that anything would fundamentally change. I wouldn't believe that he's going to get in trouble for it. Like, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. Nothing bad is going to happen to him. Like, he's not even going to have a heart attack because of his bad cholesterol. Like, nothing bad is going to happen to this dude. And the fact that people keep coming out with these like books and these exposés acting like it's going to change anybody's opinion is a little bit strange to me. No one is going to change their opinion on him.
Nope. And
like, it's not going to happen. So like,
No, I agree. And the thing is, I want everyone else to know too, like, people want bad things to happen to Trump. The man went bankrupt 6 times and was still able to land on his feet because
he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's going to be fine, folks. All those who were chomping at the bit, impeachment of Trump, that never happened. If they really wanted to impeach Trump, if Nancy, Mama Bear, and AOC and everyone else wanted to really impeach Trump, the Emoluments Clause, but they didn't do that because then that would also, the light would be shined on other Democratic and Republican lawmakers who were doing some very shady things too. So yeah, nothing's going to change, Lauren.
No, it's not. And just to being like, oh, I just think so. Everyone's saying, if you're saying that, like, oh, well, they only come up with these things after it's already happened. It's like, yeah, but at least in Trump's case, it's not going to matter. It wouldn't matter if he was still president and this stuff was happening. It wouldn't he still has every opportunity to get reelected. No, they're not going to put him in jail. He's not going to get in trouble. This January 6th committee is not going to actually be able to find anything they're not going to do anything no matter how much evidence they have. Like, yep. It's done. Like, too bad. Like, sucks to suck, but our justice system is broken and it's not going to be fixed because guess who's got money and power? And that's who wins every single time.
That's a great note to end it on, but I just want to give a real final note. And this is shout out to one of our moderators who says, Fred Edward, who says, Lauren is a fantastic addition to the Hard Lens Media team. So there you go.
Thanks.
That's a great note to end it on, folks.